Every morning there's a battle waiting for you, and it doesn't come from the outside world. It's not your boss. It's not your competition. It's not even your haters. The fiercest battle you will ever face is the one in the mirror. It's you vs you. This isn't about winning a medal. It's not about applause. It's about something bigger, something eternal. This is the battle God wants you to win. Because when you defeat the weaker version of yourself, you become the warrior you were destined to be. You don't just become stronger, you become aligned with your purpose. You see, the world doesn't need another copy of someone else. The world needs the version of you that God imagined when He put breath into your lungs. So let's get real, raw, and ready to go to war, because this battle is personal. And today, we begin with the first enemy on that battlefield, comfort. Every single morning, the real fight begins, not outside. Not with the world, not with your boss, your past, or the people who didn't believe in you. No, the battle starts with the person staring back at you in the mirror, that version of you that whispers, "It's okay to take it easy today, you've done enough." That version that wants to play it safe, stay small, blend in, and just survive. But you weren't born to survive. You were born to rise, to conquer, to dominate. It's not about them. It's you vs you, and that's the battle God wants you to win. Because when God put breath in your lungs, He didn't give you mediocrity. He gave you potential. He gave you the tools to build, to lead, to overcome, but He also gave you a choice. Whether to step into the battlefield or sit back and waste the gifts you were born with. And the first enemy you're going to face in this war is comfort. Comfort is a killer. It doesn't show up like a monster. It shows up like a friend. It tells you to rest when you haven't earned it. It tells you that average is okay, that playing it safe is smart. But what it really does is it steals. It steals your growth. It steals your hunger. It steals your destiny. Comfort doesn't care about your future. It wants to keep you locked in place, stuck in the same cycle, day after day, year after year, until you wake up one day wondering where your fire went, where your purpose went, where your soul went. You weren't built to be average. You weren't built to sit quietly in the back. You were built to stand up and walk through the fire, because the only way to grow is to hurt a little. Nobody grows when it's easy. Growth happens when you're uncomfortable, when you're stretched, when you're forced to show up even when you're exhausted. That's where greatness is born, not in comfort, but in commitment. Let me tell you something real. David Goggins, he was 297 pounds, spraying for cockroaches, full of excuses, full of pain. But he made a decision. He ran through pain, through injuries, through every excuse his mind threw at him. Why? Because he got sick of being comfortable. He chose to suffer. He chose to push. And that choice changed his life. And maybe you're not running ultra marathons or joining the Navy SEALs, but your battlefield is just as real. It's that alarm clock in the morning, that workout you keep skipping, that book you said you'd write, that dream you keep putting off, that promise to yourself you keep breaking. God didn't place that dream in your heart just to tease you. He placed it there so you could fight for it. And yes, that fight is going to cost you your comfort. But what's more painful? Temporary discomfort or permanent regret? Because regret is the heaviest weight you will ever carry. It doesn't go away, it follows you, it haunts you. But discomfort, that's temporary, that's the price of greatness. You want to become the person God designed you to be, then stop chasing ease, start chasing excellence. Step into discomfort like it's your training ground. Let pain be your teacher. Let effort be your prayer. Let discipline be your worship, your future self. The one who looks back at this version of you won't care how tired you were. He'll care whether you showed up anyway, whether you pushed, whether you fought. You vs you isn't about beating others. It's about beating yesterday's excuses, yesterday's laziness, yesterday's lies. And if you can wake up and say, "I will no longer let comfort make decisions for me," then you've already won the first battle, and trust me, God's watching, not to punish, but to empower, to fuel you, to bless your grind. So get uncomfortable, get hungry, get obsessed with progress. Because when you learn to crush comfort, you learn to build a life no one can take from you. The war starts now, and it's not personal. It's purposeful. It's you vs you, and this time you win. There's a war that rages inside every one of us, and it starts with a whisper, a voice inside your head. At first, it seems harmless, but it knows exactly where you're weak. It says you'll fail. It says you're not smart enough. It says, who do you think you are? And if you don't master that voice, it will master you. Most people walk around thinking the fight is outside, against other people, money, time, critics. But the truth is, your greatest opponent is not out there. It's in here, your own mind. Your mind can be your most powerful weapon, or your most dangerous enemy. It can push you through storms, or it can bury you in silence. The battlefield isn't a ring, a courtroom, or a stage it's between your ears, and you've got to learn to fight there first. There was a young man who grew up thinking he was dumb. His grades weren't good, teachers overlooked him, and he started believing the lie. So he quit on himself before life ever gave him a chance. Then one day, he met someone who told him, "You're not dumb. You just never trained your mind to believe you could be more." That sentence changed everything. He started reading, training, speaking life into himself daily, and slowly the fog in his mind began to lift. He didn't become perfect, but he became powerful, that young man. He didn't become famous. He didn't win awards, but he became something even greater, free. Free from the lies in his head, free to live a life God actually intended for him. And you can do the same. But here's the truth nobody tells you. The mind doesn't automatically get better. You have to train it like you train your body. You've got to rewire it, program it, discipline it every single day, because left unchecked, your mind will lie to you. It'll bring up your past, remind you of every failure. Rewind every rejection. It'll hold onto shame like it's a treasure. That voice in your head is not your friend unless you make it your soldier. And soldiers don't complain. Soldiers don't doubt. They follow orders. They fight. They win. You want to know what real strength looks like? It's waking up on a bad day and still showing up. It's hearing the voice of fear but doing it anyway. It's saying, I may be tired. I may be scared. But I'm not letting this mind decide who I become. Look at the champions of the world. Not the fake ones on Instagram, but the real ones. The ones who rise from broken homes, who turn pain into purpose. They don't have superpowers. What they have is mental discipline. They talk to themselves the way God would talk to them. They say, I am chosen. I am built for this. I may fall, but I don't stay down. They master their minds, not overnight, but every day, brick by brick, thought by thought. Even God said, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's not a suggestion, that's a command, because God knows if He can get your mind right, your life will follow. You can go to church. You can read every self-help book, but if your thoughts are still chained to fear, guilt, comparison, you'll never feel free. So how do you start winning? Start small. Speak truth over yourself every morning. Catch every negative thought and replace it. Feed your mind with faith, not fear. Choose gratitude, not bitterness. Focus on purpose, not problems, and when the storm hits. And you'll have a mind that doesn't fold. A mind that's trained. A mind that's ready for war. You vs you. The old you believed every lie. The new you, the one God's calling out. He knows the truth. He walks in power. He leads with focus. He masters the battlefield starting within. And when you win that battle, the world better watch out. Comparison is a silent killer. It doesn't scream. It doesn't storm into your life. It creeps in, slowly, quietly. It waits until you're scrolling, watching, admiring someone else's life. And then it strikes. And you don't even realize it, but it starts to whisper, they're better than you. They've already made it. You're behind. You're nothing. And just like that, you're not living your life anymore. You're chasing theirs. You vs you just turned into you vs them. And that's a war you were never meant to fight, because God never created you to be a copy. He created you to be a force, unique, precise. Designed on purpose for purpose. There's not a single person walking this planet with your fingerprints, your fire, or your journey. But comparison blinds you from seeing that. It robs your joy. It poisons your confidence. It convinces you to devalue your own story just because someone else's chapter looks more exciting. But let me ask you, how can you compare your day 1 to someone else's day 500? How can you measure your worth based on a highlight reel that only shows their wins, not their wounds? That's not fair to you, and it's not fair to the one who made you. You ever see how athletes train? They don't look at the guy in the next lane. They focus on their own steps, their own rhythm. Because if you keep glancing sideways, you lose momentum. You lose speed, you lose focus. The finish line was straight ahead, but comparison made you drift. There's a man I knew who spent 10 years trying to be like them. He dressed like them, talked like them, built a life that looked successful, but inside he was empty. You know why? Because he wasn't chasing his calling. He was chasing attention. And you can gain the world and still feel hollow if the life you built doesn't match the voice God placed inside you. You want peace? Start owning your lane. You want power? Walk your path. You want to win the battle of you vs you? Then stop dragging other people's progress into your purpose. You can't compare your pain to their progress. You don't know what they're hiding behind those smiles. You don't know the price they paid, and they don't know yours. Only God does, and He didn't put you on this earth to live someone else's life. He put you here to fight the fight He assigned to you, no one else. This isn't a race, it's a mission, and missions are personal. When you stop comparing, something powerful happens. You finally see your own growth. You realize you've survived what would have broken most. You recognize how far you've come. You stop seeing others as competition and start seeing yourself as the real contender. You vs you, that's the only scoreboard that matters. So the next time you see someone doing great, don't let jealousy rise. Let inspiration speak. Say, if they can do it, I can too. Not in their way, not in their voice, but in yours. In the raw, real way only you were born to do it. Because the chains of comparison, they don't come with keys. You have to break them yourself, with faith, with focus, with fire. You want to know how to kill comparison once and for all. Start celebrating what God's doing in you right now. Start showing up every day not to prove anything to anyone else, but to prove one thing to yourself, that you were never meant to compete. You were meant to conquer, not by being better than them, but by becoming the best version of you. So walk your path, run your race. And trust this truth, God isn't looking at how you stack up next to someone else. He's looking at how far you've come from who you used to be. And brother, if you've made it this far, you're already winning the battle. There's a voice inside you that knows your potential. It knows what you're capable of, what God has placed in your spirit, but right next to it is another voice, a darker one that waits in silence, then speaks when you're alone, tired, uncertain. That voice says, you're not ready, you're too late, you'll mess it up again. That's the voice of doubt, and if you don't learn to conquer it, it will conquer you. Doubt doesn't need facts, it feeds off fear. It doesn't care about truth. It just wants to slow you down. It wants you to hesitate when you're supposed to leap. It wants you to overthink when you're supposed to move. It wants you stuck, small, and silent. But let me ask you this. Who told you that you couldn't? Who convinced you that you weren't good enough? Because I promise you this. It wasn't God. God doesn't speak in fear. He doesn't speak in shame. He speaks in truth. He speaks in power. He speaks in bold whispers that say, you were made for more. But doubt, it doesn't come to push you forward. It comes to paralyze you, and here's the thing about doubt. It often sounds like logic. That's why it's dangerous. It tells you, be realistic. Don't risk too much. What if you fail? And if you listen long enough, you start to believe that staying still is safer than stepping out. But safety doesn't build warriors. Caution doesn't create history, makers, and logic doesn't birth miracles. There was a young woman who dreamed of starting a business. She had the skills, the passion, but every time she was about to launch, doubt screamed louder. You'll fail like last time. No one will support you. So she delayed for 3 years, until one night she finally said, I'm tired of doubting myself. Even if I fail, I'll fail forward. She launched. And in the first year, she didn't just succeed, she found freedom. She didn't beat doubt by being perfect. She beat doubt by moving anyway. You want to conquer the voice of doubt. You don't wait for it to go away. You act in spite of it. You move while it's still whispering. You punch it in the face with action, with faith, with truth. That's how you win. Even the strongest people doubt themselves. Even the boldest leaders question their steps. But what separates the winners is what they do when that voice shows up. They don't listen. They don't negotiate. They remind themselves who they are, and whose they are. Doubt says, you don't have what it takes. Faith answers, God already put it in me. Doubt says, what if you fall? Purpose responds, then I'll rise stronger. Every time you shut down that voice, even just once, you gain momentum, and that momentum stacks. That's how confidence is built, not from achievements, but from winning the private wars in your head. You've got to look doubt in the eye and say, you've lied to me for too long. I've missed opportunities because of you. I've played small because of you. But today I speak louder. I speak life over my calling. I speak courage over my weakness. Because the voice of doubt will never go away completely, but it will go quiet if you stop feeding it, starve it with truth, drown it with action, overpower it with faith, and watch what happens when you stop letting fear drive and start letting destiny lead. God doesn't need you to be fearless. He just needs you to move anyway, and when you do, that's the moment the battle shifts. That's the moment you go from surviving to slaying. That's the moment doubt loses its grip and you take your power back. Let's get one thing straight. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when it feels good. When the music's loud, when the sun is shining, when the camera is rolling. It gets you hyped for a moment, but then it disappears when things get hard. When it's cold, when you're tired, when no one's watching. That's why you can't build a life on motivation. You've got to build it on discipline. Discipline is what shows up when motivation doesn't. Discipline is what keeps you moving when the emotion is gone. Discipline doesn't care if you feel like it. It just knows this is what needs to be done, and the hardest part, you'll never feel like it at first. Waking up early when your body begs to sleep. Working out when your mind says you've earned a break. Studying when your friends are out partying. Praying when you're empty inside. Showing up when everything in you says, not today. That's not motivation. That's warrior discipline. You vs you. There was a man who grew up in chaos, poverty, no father, no direction, but every single day he woke up and said, no matter how I feel, I will outwork the old me. He didn't become a legend overnight. He became a legend one painful, boring, disciplined day at a time. That man, he didn't wait for motivation. He built systems, because when your feelings are weak, your habits take over. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your discipline. The world is full of people with talent, with passion, with potential, but you know what most of them are missing, the ability to show up on the days when nothing feels right. Motivation says, I'll do it when I'm inspired. Discipline says, I'll do it whether I feel it or not, because the mission matters more than the mood. Even God didn't build the universe in one loud flash. He did it in 6 days, intentionally, methodically, day after day. No breaks, no skipping steps. That's not hype. That's order, that's purpose, that's divine discipline, and you were created in that image. So when people ask, how do you stay motivated? The answer is simple, I don't. I stay committed because my goals don't care about my feelings, and neither does my calling. The moment you shift from chasing highs to building habits, your whole life changes. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop relying on emotion. You start becoming a machine that's programmed to move forward, no matter what. Does that mean you never rest? No. It means you rest with purpose. It means your rest serves your mission, not replaces it. There will be days you want to quit. There will be days you feel empty, and on those days your discipline will be the only thing that saves you from the old you. That's the battle. It's not flashy. It's not sexy. It's doing the right thing over and over and over again, until the results have no choice but to show up. UVSU isn't won by the loudest roar. It's won by the quiet decision to not break the chain, to stack the wins, to stay in the fight, because when you're consistent enough, long enough, relentless enough, One day, you'll look back at the person you used to be, the one who gave up when it got hard, and you'll realize that person is gone. He was defeated, not by hype, but by habit, and standing in his place is a new version of you. A disciplined, dangerous, destiny-driven warrior, the one God always knew you could be. Pain is a strange thing. It doesn't knock. It doesn't ask permission. It just shows up suddenly, violently, or sometimes quietly over time. But when it comes, it has one question for you. What will you do with me? Most people try to run from it. Numb it, drown it in distractions, avoid it at all costs. But here's the truth. Pain is unavoidable. What's optional is how you respond to it, because pain can either paralyze you or prepare you. It can make you bitter, or it can make you bulletproof. It can be your excuse, or it can be your engine, UVSU. There's no version of greatness without suffering, no version of destiny without fire, and I know that hurts to hear, but real growth doesn't come in comfort. It comes through pain, and if you run from it every time, you'll never become the person God designed you to be. There was a man who grew up in foster care, bounced from house to house, abused, forgotten, thrown aside. Every ounce of pain told him you're worthless, but he flipped it, he used it. Every scar became fuel, every trauma became a lesson. He didn't run from the pain, he ran with it. And when people asked him, how did you do it? He looked them straight in the eyes and said, because pain taught me what peace never could. That's the power of using pain, but most people don't. Most people waste it. They sit in it, drown in it, replay it for years, and while they do that, time moves on, life moves on, and their purpose sits on the shelf, gathering dust. Let me say this as clearly as I can. God never wastes pain, and neither should you. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every sleepless night, every setback, it's not just something to survive. It's something to use, because the people you're meant to help, they're going through the same storms you survived. Your pain becomes your power when you stop hiding it and start healing with it, not just for you, but for them, for the ones watching, for the ones following, for the ones who need proof that broken people still rise. Even Jesus didn't escape pain. He walked through it. He carried it. He felt the betrayal, the suffering, the cross, and still he finished the mission, not because he had to, but because the pain had a purpose. And so does yours when you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, how can this make me stronger? That's when the shift happens. That's when your wounds become weapons. That's when the old you, fragile, afraid, falling apart, dies. And a new version of you is born. The version that walks through fire and doesn't flinch. The version that doesn't break when life breaks hard. The version that fights for others because they know what it feels like to be crushed. UVSU, that battle inside, the one filled with doubt, grief, regretted only ends when you decide that pain doesn't get the final word. You do, you say, this pain won't define me, it will refine me. You say, I'm not running from the hurt, I'm rising with it. You say, this story isn't over, it's just getting started. Because the truth is, pain is part of the process, but if you hold on, if you push through, if you dare to feel it instead of fear it, on the other side is strength you never imagine. And not just strength for you, strength to carry others, strength to build something eternal. So stop waiting for the pain to go away. Start turning it into purpose, because when you do that, that's not just survival. That's victory, and that's the battle God wants you to win.